I know.
Okay. Welcome back to From the Fabricator. This is the first of 2 December episodes. The next one's a special one, which I will give you a heads up on at the end of this podcast. But this one's a good one, and I can't wait. I've got Mike Saroka, Laura Little from Goldray Glass, fantastic duo, brother and sister team from Canada. They're unbelievable. It was fun to kind of pick their brains, and they really brought some interesting points to the table. And then I have Kyle Lindersmith from Burkle. That is a machine that is definitely changing a lot of things with regards to laminating, and a good guy too, somebody who's relatively new to our world and really making a nice impact, and good to get to know him. So that's coming up. A couple pieces of housekeeping last month when I talked about the women in glass and glass and fenestration, that is, at Glass Build, the great session that we had there. I accidentally called Alicia Smith. The mush brain strikes again. So my apologies, Alicia Hamilton from the NGA. And then also, if you missed it, I posted on my blog this week, and also separately, Vardon Mehta, previous guest on this podcast, had a great article on successful relationships between architects and manufacturers. And that's one that our industry talks about all the time, is how to get in front of architects, how to be better with architects, architect. And Vardon gave you some insight there. And so check that out. That is on my LinkedIn feed, and is on this week's blog. And if you can't find it at either place and you're listening to this, just drop me a note and I will send you the link. So it's good stuff there. So enough of me. Now let's get ready to hear from first Laura and Mike from Goldray Glass, then Kyle, and then I'll see you on the other side with news about my next December podcast. Here we go. Okay. To kick things off, I am. This is awesome for me. I'm thrilled. I say it every month, but and I mean it every month. This is really cool. I've got Mike Saroka, CEO, and Laura Little, VP of Sales and Marketing for Goldray Glass. And I love these two. I think they're awesome. The thought came to me to have them on a podcast when I did a story on siblings in our industry, and rock star siblings. And in the dictionary, next to rock star siblings, are pictures of these two. So there's no doubt. Thank you both for joining me on this podcast. I can't wait to talk to you.
Oh, excited for it.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. My pleasure. So I know it's odd, from the standpoint of working with the brother-sister dynamic, because a lot of in this industry is brother-brother sort of thing. I had the brother-sister dynamic. I worked with my brother, Steve, my sister, Marcy, and it was awesome. But also there were days where it was a little rough. I was the baby of the family, and am the baby of the family. So I was 10 years younger, am 10 years younger than my brother, 12 than my sister. So my sister always looked out for me when my brother picked on me, sort of thing. So it was kind of a different sort of dynamic. You guys have an interesting dynamic because, you grew up, somewhat together. I don't know a ton about your age differences or anything like that, but you grew up in the business, basically together and working together. So I guess I'll start with you, Mike. What's it been like working, growing up in the business at Goldray, and then working with your family, and specifically Laura?
Growing up in a family business is, I find it very fortunate. I think I'm really lucky to have done that. There's so much experience you get, even as a kid, coming into work and work with your parents, and getting to work with your brother and sister. And it's it certainly has had a huge impact on who I became. It's a family business is essentially how you eat. So you're looking out for the livelihood. And so to be able to grow up in that is awesome, and have working with parents originally, and then siblings after, and then continuing on just siblings, and wife. So if you want to talk about family business, you live together, you work together. That's what it was like growing up, and now I did it all over again. So it's but it's fantastic, to be honest.
Yeah, no, and I know that I have the same dynamic. My wife was our credit manager while I was in sales, and that was special because she was cutting off people I was trying to sell, sort of thing. So those were not fun conversations of why somebody was on hold. I can tell you that I lost every single one of them. Laura, your thoughts? I mean, it's interesting. Again, you both bring a different sort of approach to the business too, which I find interesting. But Laura, working with your family, what's been your experience?
I love working with my family. Yes, we have conflicts. It is not
Yep.
utopia here at Goldray. We have conflicts, but when you're working with your family, you've got a level of trust that you can't compare to. And so you have the trust and the ability to conflict with people and have different opinions. And then you find a way to come back together, and you see your coworkers as more human beings. So you can connect with them on a way that really motivates you to resolve conflict, which I think is really powerful, and it's made for a really good work environment. Working with family also allows you to be authentically more yourself. I don't really have home Laura and work Laura because they know me in both places. And so, I can come to work and just be who I am, which I think is a gift that I feel we have a luxury of having, and I try to extend that to everybody else that we work with too. So if I get to be authentically myself, then everybody that walks through these doors gets to be authentically themselves too, which I think is a really powerful part of family business that we don't always talk about.
And that's to me, that's a great word, authentic, because that is Goldray. Goldray is authentic. I mean, it truly is genuine, just the approach that you guys take. And it's funny, I think I may have told this story on the podcast in the past. Was, my brother and sister and dad were all in the business. My mother wasn't, and I was young, and we would have family dinners. And when my brother and sister and dad would start get going, and sometimes it would go downhill real fast, my mother would pipe up and say, "So how's the weather?" Do anything she could to change the subject. Now, I couldn't imagine all of you guys in the business at the same time. That makes it even more adventurous. But again, I enjoy the authentic nature, and I love that you use that term of Goldray, because there's no, there's no posing. You guys are what you are, and you're awesome at it. So I'm a fan. I'm a fan for sure. And I like that you guys get along too. And no doubt that there are arguments along the way, because you have to have that. If you don't, then the business doesn't get better. And we're going to talk about how Goldray continues to get better. And so talking about that I had Kathy, your mom, on the podcast last year. Unbelievable person. I think you guys can agree. And if you didn't, you'd probably get grounded still. But fantastic person. Now she's transitioned away and out of the business for the most part, and you guys stepped up into more responsibility. How is that going? I'll start with you, Mike, because obviously you're stepping into some gigantic shoes.
I think it was a pretty natural transition, to be honest. I mean, you've got 10 years child labor, 26 years as a honest tax-paying employee, and kind of the growth of the company. You're groomed is probably the wrong word nowadays on the internet, but
you're prepared. You're prepared for it.
You're prepared, yeah.
Yes.
But really, I mean, just like I said earlier, when you're growing up in a company, you are shaped by that company. And also when you're working on the company, you are shaping that company. The relationship is reciprocal. And a lot of being set up is, I mean, working with my dad on the factory floor and learning and experimenting. And I think we've lit two things on fire over the course of our careers that fire trucks have had to come to put out. So, I mean, we like to play sometimes, not as safely as you should, but you truly become part of the business. And so as we move forward, it really felt like a pretty natural transition to come in, and Goldray being early in the decorative glass world and helping shape that industry. Both. I mean, Kathy and Greg both have had massive impacts on the industry as a whole, and so it's been really a privilege to be able to do that. And then just to continue it on, it's really, I got to move from the person that had to do things to moving into a role where creating an environment where other people are doing the work, doing the innovation, and surpassing my ability to do things and really bring in the expertise. So I'm kind of excited about that change and growth and seeing what the new generation is going to do at Goldray.
I like that. I like that. And Laura, for you, my first experience with you is during the pandemic, and you were doing the unbelievable, presentations that really kind of took off. Lisa from your place, helped, really get them going. And then you, with your energy, came through. How's it been for you kind of settling into this new and more expanded role?
It's been a lot of fun. It's so interesting, growing up in a business and watching it build and grow. Like Mike said, it's, I've become woven into the fabric of who the company is. And so now it's my job to tell everybody in the world about what's happening here at Goldray. And it's a really powerful position to be in, because I'm genuinely really excited about some of these things and the innovations that Mike's talking about. And so how has it been? It's been awesome. It's one of those jobs where you don't want to tell people how fun it is, because then everybody's going to want the role. But it's taking, a natural skill set of mine, which is connecting with people, helping them solve problems, and understanding, what the outside world is doing, and bringing the problem solving that we're doing here at Goldray out to the outside world. So it's been a challenge for sure, especially taking over sales in the middle of a pandemic when you can't see people.
Right.
That was a fun way to get going, but it's a journey.
Yeah, but again, I think that you took that situation and you made the most of it, because your presentations during that were game changing, quite frankly, because you were able to really do it in an original, once again, authentic way that really made a difference. And that kind of leads me into the evolution. I mean, you guys continue to evolve. And so, Laura, I'll start with you. I mean, what's got you excited? Put the sales hat on. There's got to be a ton of different things that you've got, that's got you fired up over there.
There is, and Mike makes me sign something every month saying I won't tell anybody outside what's happening in our R&D department.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so our industry has changed. The whole world has changed so dramatically in the last 2-3 years that, Goldray, if you know Goldray, you know that we position ourselves to help people. We are very much a supporter. And so we love to find problems and we love to solve them. So being in a position where the world has more change happening in the last 2 years than we've seen in the last 20 years gives us a whole heck of a lot of opportunities to help solve problems. And so, we used to look at the aesthetics of glass. It was our mission to find all of the ways and all of the places that you could use glass.
Right.
And so we used to do a lot of decorative solutions where you can make glass look like wood. You can make glass go on a ceiling. You can make glass go inside and outside. And
right.
And that was a real driver for us. Now, the question is the same. How can we make it easier for people to use glass? But the problems are different. We have supply chain struggles. How do we make it easy for people to use glass in spite of the supply chain issues we're having? Our costs in our industry have gone up more than we've ever seen. How do we still make it easy for people to use glass in spite of cost increases and access and all of those things? So that's what's got me fired up, is all of the opportunities to continue to solve problems for people.
And on that note, like the wall cladding that you do, that's a great example of something that you had a product that is great, but then you went that extra step and figured out how to make it easy on everybody. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big fan of that. And I assume that product is at Mosaic. Did I have that correctly? I assume that's still going well for you.
You bet. Yeah, that's a huge driving force in the industry in general. How can we make it easier to install and have less of a demand on skilled trades? That's really important in construction right now. So yeah, that's huge for us for sure.
Nice.
For the whole industry.
Nice call. And to you, Mike, I mean, the innovations. So you're creating new NDAs each week for poor Laura to sign. That's I don't think I could work for you. I probably, I'd be losing my mind if I couldn't talk about it. But good for you. How's it all going on your end? What's got you fired up about it?
Oh, I think really to continue on with Laura saying, there's so much opportunity to do things better and uh, so not only solve problems, but sort of create value for the whole supply chain too. I mean, we talked about Mosaic and the system, and we've been doing that for a good amount of time now, but even being able to support our customers who obviously is having labor issues and finding project managers and stuff, and the fact that we could take on doing the takeoffs, we can take off stuff. So really helping out our customer who's having resource strain, to be able to work with them on that, to connect with the architect and collaborate earlier in the process, so that there's less RFIs later on, when it goes out for bid, and yeah, there's always, hey, this could be better, and how do we do that, and really position ourselves that have an answer before people ask the question, and build a bunch of tools in your toolbox, so that when someone comes up and says, can you make this, we can say, yeah, we can, and with a reasonable degree of confidence. So it's fun.
And not only can you make it, but you can support it. And that's the biggest thing, because that's something people do run into. I am with Mike Saroka, CEO, Laura Little, VP of Sales and Marketing, Goldray Glass. You can find them online, everything we're talking about, at www.goldrayglass, all one word, .com, goldrayglass.com. Great website, by the way, if you're a fan of websites, and kudos again to you, your team, Lisa, and everybody there. It's fantastic stuff. So a fun one, and this first time me asking this question, so hopefully you guys thought about this one. If you could be any fictional character, who would it be and why? And the reason I thought about it for you two is that Mike is such a calm, focused presence. I wanted to get you out of your zone a little bit, and then I can't wait to hear what the most enthusiastic person in the industry, Laura, has to say. So Mike, who is it? Who's the fictional character that is okay. You?
Well, I was so happy it wasn't a sports question.
I love it.
Well, I narrowed it down to two. It's either, but they're both Ayn Rand characters,
okay,
out of the novel. So it'd be Hank Rearden or Howard Rourke, either from both The Fountainhead or Atlas Shrugged. It would have been a tie for me between those two.
Nice. I could see that. So of course you didn't fail me. I knew you would come up with something perfect for you, because you're good. You're so good. And Laura, now I'm really curious to see what you have.
Well, mine is much less intellectual than Mike's.
Different strokes for different folks. It's all
good.
Good.
Yeah, this was a difficult one for me, because I'm definitely not up with pop culture. I don't watch a lot of TV. And so as I thought about it, if I could come up with a fictional character that I feel like I connect with or emulates me, I thought about Phoebe on Friends.
Oh my gosh.
Because she's a little quirky. She's very much herself, but she's a real hippie at heart, and she's just trying to get along in the world of, New York City. And it's funny, I used to, when I was a kid and a teenager, I used to always give Kathy a hard time about being a hippie and being very granola. And then as I grew up, I learned that the apple didn't fall very far from the tree.
Yep, it's in the genes, unfortunately, whether we like it or not. So
that's right. Yeah, I'm a real granola person at heart.
I love it. And Friends is one of my favorite shows, and Phoebe Buffet, that works. You guys have that same that energy. That energy that covers the room. Good call. You both came through. Very nice. Very nice. I love it. Moving on, because I know you guys, again, are swamped. You got a great business up there. And, one of the things I love that you guys do is your involvement in the industry. It's something that I harp on, on the blog and on the podcast. I love companies that get involved. And Goldray, in a lot of ways, leads the way. You'll do a video here and there. You come to everything. You support everything. So what's that driving force to do that? Because again, as I've said to many people, you don't have to do that, especially when you've built a reputation like you guys have. You don't have to give of yourself. So where does that come from? Mike, you want to take that first?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it is really two really driving things. One, I mean, Goldray by itself is supportive. We try to support our customers. We try to support each other. We try to support's really built into a lot of what we do, and supporting an industry and such an amazing industry that we have. Like I like going to all the conferences just so I can see everybody again. I really look forward to it. And it's such an amazing industry. And the stronger we make it and the stronger our industry gets, the more we all benefit. So, I mean, it's just, I think it's best for everybody that we all kind of work together, collaborate. We've done projects with our competitors where we were both the best at something, and together we were able to do it, and apart it wouldn't have gotten done. And so just everybody working together to move this forward is just in everybody's best interest, and it's fun to do it with such a good group of people.
Such a great attitude. I wish more people would take that attitude on, just because, that whole rising tide sort of thing, makes a lot of sense. And Laura, I mean, it may be a little different for you on the other end because you're in the sales end, so focused. So sometimes you may not be as open to maybe competing with somebody who you're banging heads with on a project. But again, you guys still show up to everything. You're involved. Your thoughts on why you guys do what you do and why you do what you do.
I think I would echo what Mike said in some ways. Support and collaboration are both woven into the fabric of who Goldray is. And so it feels very natural for us to find a place where we can support and collaborate other people that are just like us. Mike's not wrong. The industry is what has brought me into. So I joined the industry much later than Mike.
Okay.
He's been here since he was an infant.
Yeah, he was in the child labor laws. Yes. Yeah.
And I went out into the world and did my own thing. And then I ended up coming back. And a big part of that is because of the people in the industry and how they operate. So you would think, being in sales, that I'm more butting heads with competitors, and it's very much the opposite. I will collaborate with any of our competitors, and I talked to a lot of them, especially at the last NGA event. I connected with a ton of other decorative glass manufacturers, and we all agree that pushing opportunities for the industry in general makes us all stronger. And maybe you win one, and maybe we lose one, and that's just part of business. That's just the fun game of it. But we are always stronger if we're working together. That's how Goldray operates internally. And so it's just a natural extension that's how we operate externally. And I think that's why you see more Goldray employees as well. It's not just Mike and I pushing the collaboration with the industry. Everybody that works here sees value in it, because we really, truly believe that people are stronger together. And
I didn't realize that you were somewhere else before you got in the industry. What were you doing before you got the call to come home, sort of thing?
Well, this maybe goes back to the hippie conversation.
Oh boy.
I got my degree in developmental psychology. So
perfect for this industry. Absolutely. Yeah. It's perfect for this industry.
I spent many years working with children with disabilities and teaching young kids. And then I transitioned into I was a yoga teacher, and I was a birth doula, always connecting with people and always supporting people. And so for sure, sales and marketing has been a natural transition to what drives me as a person.
Nice. I did not know that. And I love it. And speaking of people, I will say you have a gentleman there, Selwyn, who is a riot to see. I've never met him in person. I've only seen him in videos. But if I had to assign a fictional character to him, he's James Bond. The guy, and I'm shocked that Hollywood has not grabbed him yet. Just because he's got it. So for sure. So James Bond there. I can't wait. One of these days I'll meet him in person. I have to get his autograph, sort of thing. So. Awesome. I love what you guys are talking about. Again, Mike Saroka, Laura Little, Goldray Glass. Find them online, goldrayglass.com. A couple more questions. And I think that in a way you both have somewhat answered this already, but I'm just curious, especially, with what's going on right now with supply chain, how as an industry can we get better? What can we keep doing to get better? Laura, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on how we can get better as an industry?
How we can get better as an industry. So within construction, there's been a long history of sort of doing things the way that we've always done them. And it's not because people don't want to do things differently. I think that you need pockets of people within an industry that will always question, and they'll always ask, why are we doing this? And could it be better? And so as an industry, what I think we can do to get better is to always be questioning and to be collaborating and working together. So you brought up Mosaic as our wall cladding system, our quick install wall cladding system. That was a product of glaziers coming to us and saying, this product is difficult, or this is the struggles that I'm having, or I wish it could be like this. And if we took this stance as a company of like, well, it is what it is,
right,
then we don't improve as an industry. If we're always questioning and asking and collaborating, we will come up with better answers. I think that manufacturers are in a really unique position.
Yeah.
Glazing contractors want to install innovative products, and they often install what is specified. And so if we have a luxury as a manufacturer that we get to be really creative and come up with solutions, whether it's supply chain issues, whether it's lead time issues, whether it's installation issues. And so for us to squander the opportunity that we have would be irresponsible, in my opinion.
Tremendous. Mike, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. It's creating solutions for people that sometimes, they're driven by complaints of I can't stand this, or we'll run into a really difficult project where maybe there's unforeseen circumstances, or you start seeing trends in the industry of frustrations that you can solve. And then again, kind of back to the comment earlier about developing and getting ready for problems that may arise. I use a Henry Ford quote around here quite often, where he said that if I asked my customers what they want, they'd say faster horses. But we're not riding horses to work anymore. And so sometimes it's also picturing what could be, or what would be ideal, or if I could reimagine this, what would that look like? And then the hard part is convincing the world your idea is a good one. But that's Laura's job.
Yeah, no doubt. And I thought you were going to use the Henry Ford quote, "You can have any color you want as long as it's black."
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, that'd be great for a decorative glass manufacturer, right? So yeah, I don't think that would work. But I do like what you both are saying, and I do think the always questioning is a big one. And I do think that a lot of times we as an industry take the path of least resistance. Whichever fastest, whichever is easiest. And that's where we get bogged down, and we can't do that. We have to keep evolving, and we have to keep questioning, how can we do better? How can we, provide these solutions? Efficiency matters more than ever now, because it mattered before because of the bottom line. It matters now because you can't get product. You only get one shot at it, sort of thing. You've got to get it right and get it right fast, because people are waiting on it more than they had before. So that's that little my editorial there off of your guys' excellent answers to my questions. So wrapping up, last question. 2023 is almost here. This is dropping here at the beginning of December. What's on tap for Goldray in 2023, or how you guys feeling, sort of thing? I mean, it's been an interesting year in some ways. So Mike, start with you. 2023, how you feeling?
It's going to be interesting because I think nobody knows. I think I don't know how you have a recession and hyperinflation at the same time. One is supposed to balance the other.
Yes.
So I think we're at a point of fundamental change. And I think in 10 years from now, we're going to look back and say, yeah, the pandemic was weird. Yeah, and supply chain was hard. But man, did 2023, boy, did the world change. And I think we've got to refigure out how the world's going to work. And I think this is the year that's going to happen.
Interesting. Laura, your take.
Yeah, I would agree with Mike. Because I'm Canadian, I have to reference a hockey player, Wayne Gretzky. I'm sure
Right.
you're familiar with Wayne Gretzky. When people ask him how he was so successful, he used to say he doesn't skate to where the puck is, he skates to where the puck is going to be. And
Perfect.
perhaps with the World Cup happening, I should say we're going to run to where the ball will be.
Right.
So I'm relatable outside of just my Canadian honky friends.
I love it.
But trying to look at the problems not as problems, but as opportunities for us to come up with, from my side, we spend a lot of time with architects and designers. So how am I going to support architects and designers to use as much glass as I possibly can when I can't go see them in person, when they're working from home, when they want things in the middle of the night and they want access to people and support. It's an exciting time. It's change, but because our nature is to embrace change and use it. I think 2023 is going to be an exciting time for the world, and it's going to be an exciting time for Goldray too.
No doubt. Boy, you're so well spoken, both of you guys. And I agree. 2023 is going to be it's going to be an interesting year because we don't know. Like Mike said, you just don't know anymore. Conventional wisdom, and I may have said it on a previous podcast. Conventional wisdom, I think, was taken out by COVID. Now it doesn't exist anymore post-COVID because things that you could count on happening just don't happen the same way anymore. And so trying to guess what 2023 is going to be is so tough. The metrics are there for us, especially on the commercial side, but you just don't know how it's all going to play. And so it's all of these things that you talked about, the foundation of, questioning things, creating solutions, evolving, communicating obviously is a big one, which you guys do well. I think that those are the things that everybody has to do coming into this year. So before I let you go, any final thoughts, for the industry to hear, since I'm lucky enough to get the brother sister combo here on my podcast?
I'll let Laura take that one.
My final thoughts are, I think, Max, I hope you understand what a strong presence you are in our industry. You are eternally positive, and what you and everybody else at the NGA does for our industry, I don't know if you get thanked enough.
Well, thank you.
For the power that you have and the relationships that you build. And I truly do mean it. And I know Mike means it, that this is the best industry in the world to be in. And I think we all play a big part in that. So what do I want to say to the industry is join us, because you'll never be able to beat us.
Absolutely. No, that. Thank you for that. That's incredibly kind, and I know the NGA staff appreciates what you guys do, and again, that authentic nature really comes through. So again, tremendous time spending with you guys, but I know you're both really, really busy. I've been with Mike Saroka, CEO, Laura Little, VP of Sales and Marketing there, Goldray Glass. Simply one of the best players we have in our industry. GoldrayGlass.com is where you can find them online and learn more about everything that they can do. And you will see them at different events like the glass conferences and BEC and so on. So now that you've seen their faces, if you're watching this on YouTube, go up and say hi, and they will be exactly like this in person. Nice and friendly and smart, well put together folks. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks.
Okay. Now, next up on the podcast, Kyle Lindersmith of Burkle America, Burkle USA, sales manager for PV and glass. You can find them online at www.burkleamerica.com. This guy and this company made a huge splash at GPAD. We'll talk a little bit about that. But Kyle, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Of course, not a problem. Happy to be here. So
it's awesome to have you. And I've gotten to know you now for a little over maybe a year and a half. I met you at Glass Build in 2021. Got to see you in action at GPAD in early 2022. And what was interesting about you is that you've kind of worked your way into this sales manager position coming from the service side. So let's talk about your career and your path and really transferring from service to sales with Burkle.
Yeah, so in February, I'll be with the company for 25 years, long time, no doubt about it. Started off at Burkle as a service tech back in '98, just kind of a fluke, ran into these guys. I was working for another company called Hutchinson Technology, and kind of bumped into them installing some equipment. They were looking for somebody, and the next thing you know, I'm getting my hair cut and I'm on a plane to California. And
Nice.
everybody had a good giggle at work because I took an impromptu couple of days off and cut my hair. It used to be down to here. So everybody knew something was up. But yeah, I had dinner and drinks, and that was my interview and all of that fun stuff. And next thing you know, I'm on a plane off to Germany for a month for training and kind of worked my way up the ladder a little bit in the service department, and then moved into service management after about 4 years, and was doing that until 2020 when I moved into the sales department full time. So certainly my experience in the service department over all of these years, it's account management, right? It's
Yeah.
just like sales, because you have to stay on top of every one of the projects, every one of the customers, and really service the heck out of them. We always say sales sells the first machine and service sells the rest. So we're a very sales oriented organization. And so throughout all those years, yeah, it was kind of training, if you will. So when we made the transition, I think it was pretty easy for me. I mean, literally I was service manager on Monday and sales manager on Tuesday. So it was an interesting kind of baptism by fire. But again, all that time that I'd spent traveling with the salesmen, going to trade shows, providing technical support on their sales calls, really prepped me well. So it was a pretty easy transition for me.
Very cool, very cool. And I could not picture you with long hair, down past your shoulders. So were you in a heavy metal band? I mean, what was the deal here?
I'm sorry, what?
Were you in a heavy metal band with the long hair?
No. I ran sound for a band, and
Okay.
I don't know. It started off as a ponytail, and then I decided I'm going to let it all go the same length. So I had to wear a hat for like a year because it was never long enough for a ponytail.
Right.
So I had to wear a hat for a long, long time, and had that long hair for a long, long time. And I was an old car stereo guy. That's what I started doing before all of this, was installing car stereos, and certainly like the Metallica and the AC/DC and all
Nice.
that fun stuff. But I wasn't wearing the heavy metal T-shirts. It was more of a fashion statement at the time.
I love it. I love it. And I 25 years, and I like the fact that when you go from technical to sales, it's almost like you have a cheat code because you know how everything works. And it actually makes selling easier. And I see that more and more now in other parts of our industry, that it's more technical sales is taking over versus the old fashioned kind of approach to being just a sales person. Having those technical chops really matter. And I'm sure that helps you each and every day now.
Yeah, and I see that, and early on, when I started calling on customers, I was a little bit nervous about, being more technical than, the silver tongue salesman, right? But it just, as you sit down, as you say, I've been traveling with the sales guys for years and years.
Right.
And, in the past, there was a lot of the tongue smith and all of that. But now, more and more, everybody can find the information they need on the internet.
Yeah.
They don't need for you to go and necessarily educate them as much as in the past. So a lot of times when we're coming in and sitting down with folks, it's getting right down to business, right down to technical aspects and details. And most of the time, don't even meet the purchasing agents. The engineers and all those folks on the floor are handling all of the technical details. And then,
Right.
Commercial, financial, and you get that done at the end. But it's been a real asset for me, especially here with the IFL. I participated in the installation down at PGT. So as I'm at, whether it's glass build last year, glass build this year, glass tech, GPAD, whatever the case may be, it's been nice because I can answer those questions on the spot. You don't have to go back to the factory. Well, let me get back to you and really get into the nitty gritty details. And I think as people walked away from the booth, I heard it several times say, hey, you answered all my questions. We'll let you know if we need anything, right? So
Nice.
I think that's been a real advantage for me, for sure.
For sure. Okay, so now it's time we talk a little bit about Burkle, and we talk about the equipment. And laminating is the key product I want to talk about. And the IFL you mentioned, an inline laminating operation, which is stunning. And it really at GPAD, at Glass Processing and Automation Days last March, made a huge impact. I mean, people were talking about, quote unquote, the Burkle, the pretty much during and after. It really caught people's eyes. Your presentation was spectacular. Talk about, introducing people to an inline laminated sort of operation, because it's not what people are used to in the glass and glazing industry.
Yeah, for sure. And, we just a little bit of history
Yeah,
on the
please.
IFL. I get the question a lot about, hey, this is a new technology. Why should we invest? There's a lot of risk here. Certainly you and I have talked in the past about some of the flash in the pan, different lamination products that have come out in the past that have really burned some folks. So, it's an uphill battle for sure. Convince people to get away from the pre-nip and autoclave. There's no doubt. But what I'd like to say is, when you look at our product, it's easy to think, hey, this is something new. You've only got 2 of these systems in the US right now, but this was born from our solar lamination product line. And we've been in the solar industry for about 15 years doing glass solar lamination in the thin film world and glass backsheet lamination in the crystalline world. So you want to talk about a difficult lamination process. Once you take a piece of glass, you're encapsulating all the cells, all the wires, encapsulant in a flexible sheet on the back and keep everything from moving. That's a challenge.
Yes.
Taking a couple of pieces of glass and laminating them together for us, there's always challenges, but it's much easier for us. Just glass lamination. So again, we basically just took the first step of our PV lamination system and placed a new piece in there that's more conducive to glass lamination. So we've got a lot of history. Everything is the same, the heating systems, the controls, the transport system. So we've got 15 years of experience with this tool. The only difference now is that the first step is different. Instead of a platen and membrane lamination process, we have a platen process where we're squeezing everything together. And that direct contact from our heated steel platen to the glass allows us to soften up and melt that inner layer much faster than an autoclave process.
Right.
So, the inline flat lamination, the IFL, it's definitely a game changer. It's new, and through GPAD and the trade shows and industry events, the glass conference, our goal right now is to simply educate the market. And, again, we know that we've got a hill to climb here, but there's a lot of excitement about it. As you mentioned, GPAD, the factory, I can't take all the credit. Our folks in Germany did a great job of putting presentation together.
Yeah.
We had great animation that allowed me to efficiently explain how the machine works, how the process works, and then show those major differences between the traditional processes and the IFL. So, again, it's an exciting process for us, an exciting new product. And Burkle is really putting a lot of effort and investing heavily into this, as seen. And we're going to be, doing some more magazine ads and certainly be at all the conferences and had a great booth at Glass Tech and had a lot of activity there from everybody around the world, and took away a few leads for the US here from Glass Tech as well. So I'm kind of rambling there, but
no, I think
we get excited about it. It's a really cool product.
It is. And so, for maybe, and I might be wrong with this, but I've always looked at it as almost like it's very similar to a tempering oven because it's flat and the way the glass is running through there, but it's laminating. And so, you to me, it's like, my gosh, it takes out all of that nightmare of rolling carts around into an autoclave because you're just running it right in line. So it's an efficiency, mastermind there.
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, we're feeding the system, just like we will a tempering furnace. So it's playing Tetris, optimizing as much as we can.
Yep.
Using that optimization software upstream at cutting with the ERP and all that. So when those bed loads get to us, we're shooting for 80% bed load if possible, more if we can. And then, it's a 3-step process. So we have 2 heating presses, and the last process is a cooling press. So we talk about, in addition to, of course, the inline, like I said, you take all the operators out of the middle of this, right? So there's it's just your traditional operators upstream, between washing and our in-feed conveyor. And then we designed our out-feed conveyor to be a trimming station. So if you're going to do it the old-fashioned manual way, you need a total of 3 operators.
Yeah.
And that's it. Our largest machine, the 2650, which is 2600 by 5000, will compete roughly with a 8-foot diameter by 20-foot autoclave is where we kind of find we're at production wise. So huge labor savings, no more spacers, and just all of that goes away. If we want to talk about, traditional impact glass 3-in-3 and 090 PVD, we can have a tack time around 15 minutes, and we're striving to get a little bit lower than that.
Yeah.
We've been working with the interlayer guys. We don't have anything specifically designed, but we've had the interlayer guys at our factory in Germany running some tests and trials, working together to get those cycle times even lower.
Nice.
We love to be around the 12, 13 minute mark. We think with some more testing and process development, we can get down there.
Nice. I'm with Kyle Lindersmith, sales manager at Burkle America, Burkle USA. Find them online, burkleamerica.com, and you'll be able to see this IFL in action along with so many other things. It's a great website, a lot going on there. And one note on Glass Tech, that I wrote it on my blog, and I have to point it out to you. I loved watching you from afar on the touch screen. You literally were reminding me of John Madden. You're circling stuff and you're going boom, and then the glass goes here, and then boom, boom, and it was great to watch. You had that John Madden feel to you. Those old enough who watch this podcast or listen to this podcast will know what I'm talking about. The younger crew would have the only thing John Madden in the video game. But kudos to you. It was a great presentation there.
I can get a bit animated, and when I'm passionate about something, it's the fingers start pointing, and I got to make sure I don't have too much caffeine and go too fast, right?
You nailed it, and I think there wasn't enough caffeine to go around in Germany to keep us all awake. That's for sure, because that was a tough slog. That was a tough slog. So fun one. I'm curious. This is a fun question for you. I do it with all my guests on every podcast. Who in the world, dead or alive, would you want to have dinner with, and why?
I thought about that, and that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Alive these days, everything, I just can't really come up with anybody that's really like an idol or I'd like to spend a lot of time with in the public life. But realistically, I thought about it, and it may be a little corny, but I'd probably like to go back and have dinner with my grandpa again on my mother's side. Just, as I grew up, we'd certainly see him at Christmas and the holidays and all of that fun stuff. But, I never really spent a lot of one-on-one time with him. And he's where I got all of my technical skills, building his own houses, owned a body shop for years and years. And I just look back and kind of wished that I'd sat down with him and over a couple of beers and talked about, how'd you do this and how'd you do that? How'd you learn this and how'd you learn that? And as I said, I love technical stuff, and I'm always fiddling with things. And so it'd be fun to go back and spend some time. For the last, 10 years of his life, he had Alzheimer's. And so just didn't really have that opportunity to sit down and kind of chew the fat like that, And so that's probably who I'd enjoy spending some time with.
I like that. Great answer. Class answer. Great answer. Makes tons of sense. Thank you for playing along with that. Couple more questions, because I know you're swamped. You wear a lot of hats no matter what. An install for you guys. Just completed one in the Northeast. Everything go okay? Everybody happy?
Yeah. It's nothing's perfect, right? You're moving 4 giant boxes, which are super heavy loads, and there are 3 or 4 shipping containers and hundreds of thousands of pounds. So there's always going to be a little hiccup here and there. But the customer you speak of is by Winco up there north of PA. And, it's no secret. We had a LinkedIn post, after the original order, great group of folks up there, and really excited to see their expansion and to be part of that. And they're 100% autoclave, or I'm sorry, 100% IFL, no autoclave.
Right. Great.
So I've got a brand new site there. And again, we're just thrilled to be part of that process and have worked together closely with the team here on process development. We've still got a few tweaks and tunes to make here and there, but we're very, very close. They're in production, and they've been very gracious and offered to allow us to potentially bring some customers in for tours. And so we're looking forward to that in the future. That's a big question I'm getting a lot at the trade shows and in a lot of my presentations is, can we see one? Can we see one? Yeah. And again, they're a great group of folks, privately held and just easy to get along with. And it's been a great process with them.
Absolutely. Winco, great company and forward thinking and a nice move here, working with you. And so going forward, what are you looking at for the new year? I mean, I know, it's a crazy world we're in right now. Things seemingly change on the dime. The stock market goes up 1,000 points one day, goes back down the next. I mean, it's bonkers. But how about you and Burkle? What are you guys looking at for 2023?
We got to keep plugging away here. Some of the challenges we have, along with all the equipment suppliers out there, lead time. we're having a tough time, sourcing components. So we just got to keep plugging away. For me, on the glass side of things, it's just to continue the education. I think we've done a pretty good job of developing a network here in the glass industry, going from zero to kind of where we're at in the course of maybe 18 months. So I'm quite proud of what we've been able to achieve there. We've still got a lot of work to do. Hopefully close a few orders here in the next 3-4 months or whatever. We've definitely seen and getting some traction and interest in the BIPV. Certainly folks out there like the Next Energies and the Ubiquitous Energy, this transparent solar is so cool, and what a wonderful technology. And I think the IFL is a great fit for some of these kind of out of the box production methods for some of these different products. And so I think we're well suited to make some inroads there with some of the different type of stuff out there rather than just safety glass. So that's some excitement there. Working with those guys, just staying on top of the new products that are coming out. Again, I keep going back to BIPV. I think this is going to be a big deal, whether it's the transparent solar or integrated PV, whatever the case may be, with the Inflation Reduction Act and all of this. I think that you just hear more and more about everybody partnering up with somebody, to develop, some type of BIPV. So we're going to focus on that. Certainly, as we know, as I mentioned, the Inflation Reduction Act, this is going to take off, and I think there's some huge opportunities there. So we've got to make sure that we position ourselves in the market in the proper spots here and are chasing the right customers. It's, as we've discussed, offline, the IFL is an investment, when compared to the traditional autoclave. If you're greenfield, I think that we're very competitive with the infrastructure that's required for the clave process. But, if you're an existing autoclave processor, then, the IFL can be a pretty large capital investment. And so, again, it's just a matter, I keep saying it, of educating the market, growing our network, and getting everybody aware of what this is, what it can do. The energy consumption is half of the autoclave, the labor, the inline process. If you automate up front and you automate in the back end, the glass comes in, the glass goes out. It's just wonderful.
I think that in a labor weak world that we're in right now, I think more automation and products like yours are things that make the most sense, because the labor situation is never going to get better. It's really only in a best case scenario, stay the same. But most likely it's going to get worse. It's just the way we're going. And so products like the IFL from Burkle and others that I've had on this podcast make a lot of sense. And then, like you're mentioning, whether it's transparent photovoltaics, which I'm a huge fan of, and I've talked about many times on this podcast, or just laminated glass in whole, it is a massively hot market. And everything is starting to move in different ways to some sort of laminate because of its acoustic and structural and so on. So I think you're in a good spot overall. And I just love the fact that I was just so taken by the machine because I grew up in an autoclave world, and I grew up in seeing, bulldog clips from Staples all the way around a piece of glass, things like that. And then to see what yours did, I was in the tank. I was like, oh God, that's the most awesome thing I've ever seen. So that's why I've wanted to have you on and talk more, just because I think it's just game changing.
Yep. And the reaction at GPAD was fun. As you may remember, my German colleague bowed out at the last minute, and that got dumped on me. And I think it was high school was the last time I'd spoke publicly. So there were some nerves there, that's for sure. But with the help of that automation, and it was a lot of fun at the end of the day.
You rocked it. And Kyle, my friend, anytime that somebody is using your machine has kind of like the Jello or Kleenex of a scenario when they're saying the Burkle, I think you did something right. Something right. So
I'm proud of that. And now of course it's not autoclave or pre-nip or whatever, they've got their own names, but yeah, certainly. Hopefully we've branded, the Burkle here, and people will know what that is when we're talking the Lammy world. And so yeah. Like I said, very exciting and a lot of fun on the business development into this. It's been a fun ride for me.
Awesome. We'll keep up the good work. I've been with Kyle Lindersmith, sales manager of PV and glass at Burkle, Burkle America, Burkle USA. Find them online, burkleamerica.com. Check them out. You'll be able to see Kyle's picture on the site. Reach out to him if you need to. But thank you, my friend, for taking the time today. I appreciate it.
Yep. You have a good weekend.
Okay. Thank you very much for checking out this month. Again, thanks to Laura Little and Mike Saroka from Goldray Glass, Kyle Lindersmith from Burkle. Great stuff from those folks and great people. Appreciate that. Again, top of the top, very fortunate to have those sort of folks on the podcast. A couple quick notes before we wrap up. I teased what's coming up next month, and I will get to that in a second. But TV-wise, Tulsa Kings on Paramount Plus. I wrote about it on my blog, Sylvester Stallone. So far, so good. It's a good watch. Also, if you're into that action sort of Middle East genre, Fada comes back on Netflix January 20th, I believe, for their 4th season. Definitely one of my favorites. Okay, so next podcast in a couple weeks with Steve Widener of NSG Pilkington America, North America. Great guy, nice interview. It is my typical year-ender one-on-one with an industry influencer. Last year, I was honored to have Mr. Freeze from the Freeze Foundation. This year, it's Steve Widener. It's already done. It's already in the books. So I can actually tease that. That is coming up in a couple weeks, so check that out. So that's it for me for this one. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for supporting, and I'll see you soon.
Oh, the music is stopped.